We'll give the floor to Märta-Lisa Magnusson, who will start with a presentation.
The contributions in this anthology relate to the final days of the Soviet Union. The authors recount their experiences of conducting fieldwork and traveling as researchers in the Caucasus, that is far away from Moscow. Our recounts, well, they relate to our experiences of conducting fieldwork and traveling as researchers in this region. This period, from the late 1980s to the early 1990s, is crucial for the understanding of current developments, not only in the Caucasus, but in all countries that were once part of the Soviet Union. The articles are based on material collected during travel and fieldwork in both North and South Caucasus. The authors report on the political processes they witnessed in this periphery of the Soviet Empire, including the emergence of new movements for independence in the Caucasus, the increasing tension with Moscow, the breakdown of Soviet structures at different levels, and the growing importance of national cultures. They describe how premodern traditions still play a role despite Soviet modernization. They account for specific cultural features and similarities, and witness deepening ethnic antagonism. The Caucasus region, like the Baltic republics, was on the periphery of the Soviet Union. However, these two regions were to play an important role in the reform process and gradual disintegration of the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union opened up under Gorbachev's new policy of glasnost and perestroika, openness and restructuring, in the 1980s, researchers and journalists had new opportunities to travel, to report, and to engage in field studies in places far from the two major cities, Moscow and Leningrad. Well, you know, that's today's St. Petersburg. Before 1991, few outside specialist circles had heard about the Caucasus. Few knew that on the southern slopes of the Great Caucasus Range, you'll see it there, can I point there on the map? There were three Union republics of the Soviet Union: Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan, part of the USSR, Soviet Socialist Republics. It was even less well known that within these Union republics, as well as within the Russian Federation on the northern side of the Caucasus Mountains, there were several autonomous republics and regions. Today, names as Chechnya, Abkhazia, South Ossetia, and Nagorno-Karabakh are widely known outside specialist circles, not least due to association with war and conflict. In Soviet times, contact and communication with the outside world went through Moscow, the capital of the Soviet Union, and information flow to and from the Caucasus was limited. This was not only due to a general Soviet censorship, but also because the region had been transformed into a periphery in relation to the outside world. And Western journalists stationed in Moscow, they traveled to the region to report mostly on exceptional events. The Caucasus actually was widely known better before the establishment of the Soviet Union than after.
In the 1990s, there were several researchers in this region, in the Öresund region, that became interested in the Caucasus. And in 2005, the editors of this volume, Märta-Lisa, we initiated the Center for Caucasus Studies at our student universities, which contributed to the establishment of Caucasus Studies here at Malmö University. And all the authors of this volume were involved in this center in different ways. So I will just go back for you to see the book again. We just showed it so swiftly. This is at this time Lenin Square. It's now Freedom Square in Tbilisi on the cover, and Lenin, of course, is not there anymore. So there's a multidisciplinary group of authors of this book: a political scientist, Ib Faurby, cultural geographer Lars Funch Hansen, slavicist Märta-Lisa Magnusson, historian and Iranologist Søren Theisen, and me, general linguist and Caucasologist. So, as you see already here on the slide, I will show the table of contents with sort of a brief presentation here of what we have in the book. The opening contribution here is based on impressions from Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia, late 1980s. And here, Märta-Lisa Magnusson puts forward the sort of overarching question: Soviet people, did it exist? And then the following chapter, the fall of an empire seen from below, by Ib Faurby. He adopts a global as well as a local perspective here. I would like to mention here that sadly enough, Ib Faurby is not with us. He passed away in 2023. So he was with us in the beginning of this project, and this is based on the final chapter by him in slightly revised. Ib Faurby was affiliated to the Danish Royal Academy of Defense Academy, and he was also a lead writer at the Danish daily Politiken. The next chapter is my chapter, 4 years that changed Georgia's identity, about language and identity in Georgia. And the fourth chapter here is by Søren Theisen, who traveled extensively in Armenia and writes about the Soviet legacy and pre-Soviet traditions. It's interesting to note that Søren's perspective on the Caucasus is somewhat unusual. It's not Russia, as it is so often. It's rather approaching the region from the south, from the Middle East, from Turkey. So this chapter here is entitled A Little Trip Down Memory Lane, Travel in Armenia in the Time Around the Dissolution of the Caucasus. Okay. The next chapter is by Lars Funch Hansen, and he shares his impressions here about from Spitak. Some of you might remember that there was a terrible earthquake in 1988. This is an Armenian time, and Lars visited it 1 year after the earthquake. It's entitled When the Mountain Wept, Spitak, December 1989, the story of pictures from a field visit in snow and frost in Armenia on the 1 year anniversary of the 88 earthquake. And then I have another chapter here, How I Conquered the North Caucasian Stronghold, my call. So now we're in the North Caucasus. And this illustrates some challenges of doing fieldwork in the Soviet period, where I was working on the structures, the status of the Northwest Caucasian language Adygay. And the final chapter is also from the North Caucasus, Lars Funch Hansen, focuses on the Premodern region and the conflict between North Ossetia and Ingushetia. Title, he is a conflictologist, fieldwork in the North Caucasus in the time around collapse of the Soviet Union.